Hello everybody and welcome back to another online Chinese history class with me, Tony. Last class we talked about another one of the Shang Dynasty's greatest accomplishments, Chinese writing or Chinese characters, the oracle bone inscriptions. They are a kind of pictographic characters. Pictographic characters are characters that are drawn to show the literal image of the thing that it's being represented. They're basically a simplified drawing of the things it's representing. Do you also remember ideographs or ideograms? There are characters or symbols that represent a concept or an idea. We also talked about sorcerers and how they use oracle bone inscriptions to tell fortune and predict the future. With time, the sorcerer got more and more power and they had lots and lots of it. Because they basically decided everything, using the oracle bone inscriptions and burning it. More and more people were believing their techniques and their way and power to speak to the gods. The sorcerers were, in a way, controlling everything that happens within the Shang Dynasty. They were literally only under the gods in power. The civilians listened to them, the ministers listened to them, the princes listened to them, and even the mighty king listened to them. The sorcerers got more fame, more power as time grew by, and they got increasingly more, as I already said before, because this is actually a very big deal, and after a couple of years, they had more power than the king. The king, of course, was annoyed. Every king was a bit annoyed, but they still listened to the sorcerers. If the king wanted to do something like attack a tribe, the sorcerers could tell him to not to, and that from the oracle bone inscriptions that they burned, they said that it was bad luck to attack the tribes and the whole Shang Dynasty would fall. If he still wanted to do it, the sorcerers will tell them of the god's wrath and the bad luck that would come. The king, of course, believed in the gods, as all of the people of the Shang Dynasty did. Well, most of them did, anyways. So there wasn't really anything the king could do except obey them. Sure, they would get frustrated and annoyed a lot, but they did not want the gods striking down with lightning or getting bad luck and losing battles against tribes. They will invade and having the Shang Dynasty end. You can see why this was a problem, right? Do you think the sorcerers continued getting power, or did the king eventually stop them? If you think the king stopped them, then how? I'll give you 4 answer choices. So A is yes, the sorcerers did, as a matter of fact, continue getting power, and eventually they got too powerful that they had full control over other tribes. Then the other tribes rebelled and took down the Shang Dynasty, and the sorcerers had no more power. B. No. A king eventually got tired of this and thought that the sorcerers had way too much power. He stopped them by kicking the sorcerers out of the Shang Dynasty. Nothing bad happened, so everybody continued on their life normally and happily. Or C. No. A king eventually got tired of this and thought that the sorcerers had way too much power and it was increasingly growing. So he stopped them by joining up with the sorcerers. The sorcerers were reluctant to teach him about their ways and their use of oracle bone inscriptions, but after a few tries, he forced himself in the group of sorcerers. After a few years, the king learned everything about how to use the oracle bone inscriptions on turtle shells and animal bones to tell fortune and predict the future. So, he did that himself, and had basically no need for the sorcerers anymore. He also taught this method to his ministers, and they helped the people in need. The sorcerers quickly went down in power, and the king was back in control. Or D. No. A king eventually got tired of this and thought that the sorcerers had way too much increasing power. He stopped them by first creating a statue of the most most powerful god, the god of heaven, and then had the minister represent the god in a round of chess. The king won and proved that he was more powerful than the gods, and especially the most powerful god, and then beat up the god, aka the minister. So now everybody doesn't believe in the god's ultimate wrath and power anymore because the king beat him. That means that the king is more powerful and stuff and didn't fear their wrath anymore. The sorcerers quickly went down in power after that, and they were forgotten. Okay, this question is a very, very long one that you have to think about. I'll give you some time. Okay, time's up. The correct answer was D. The throne eventually passed down to a king, who eventually got tired of this and thought that the sorcerers had way too much increasing power. His name was E. He stopped the sorcerers by creating a statue of the god of heaven, aka the most powerful god, and then had a minister represent the god in a round of chess. The minister, of course, didn't have that much guts to win over the king in a round of chess. The king was good, but the minister didn't try his best also. The king won in the end and proved that he was more powerful than the god of heaven and therefore more powerful than all of the other gods, and then beat up the minister, aka the god, to show that the gods didn't really have that much wrath and that much power that they had to be feared that much that they have to listen to a group of people who fortune tell and predict the future. So now the civilians don't believe in their ultimate wrath and power anymore. From here on out, sorcerers were quickly tossed aside and forgotten. They weren't a big deal anymore. However, the use of oracle bone inscriptions wasn't. People still use that to record history and pass down knowledge to their descendants. It was really, really useful and one of the major accomplishments in the history of China. It's still how we know about the Shang Dynasty and all of the things that happened. Without it, we would have thought that Shang Dynasty was pretty much a myth. So, yeah, that's it for today. See you all next time.